The son of legendary Hollywood actor and director Rob Reiner has been arrested for murder. The LAPD confirms Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found killed in their Los Angeles home yesterday. According to booking records from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Nick Reiner has been arrested on homicide charges. He is being held on a $4 million bail. The 32-year-old has been in and out of rehab facilities for years due to drug issues. In an interview in 2016 with People magazine, Nick Reiner openly discussed his struggle with drug addiction and his experiences living on the streets. Here's what we know.
Actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife were found dead in their Los Angeles home on Sunday in a case that police are investigating as an apparent homicide. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom have each released statements confirming the deaths of Reiner and his wife. In a post on social media, Bass wrote that Reiner's passing was a devastating loss for our city and our country. Police have yet to publicly identify the deceased, however. LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton says police officers searched the house.
Upon arrival, they determined that there were two deceased individuals inside of the residence. The Los Angeles Police Department is now conducting an investigation at this residence here on Chadbourne, and that investigation will continue over the coming days. In terms of someone that may have information regarding what happened inside the residence, we're not going to release that information. That'll be part of the investigation.
He added that the cause of death will be made public by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office.
You're on 10 on your guitar. Where can you go from there? Where?
As an actor, Rob Reiner was best remembered for his breakout role on the classic TV comedy All in the Family. He played Mike Meathead Stivic, the outspoken son-in-law and the liberal foil to Archie Bunker, portrayed by Carol O'Connor. Reiner was also known for his filmmaking, directing some of Hollywood's most beloved movies. That includes The Princess Bride, This is Spinal Tap, and When Harry Met Sally. His wife, Michelle Singer, once worked as a photographer and famously captured the image of Donald Trump featured on the cover of Trump, The Art of the Deal.
To discuss director Rob Reiner's passing, with us now is Christian Toto, award-winning film critic and host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast. Christian, good afternoon to you. So you've described Reiner's run in the 80s as Spielberg-level great. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, the titles speak for themselves. These aren't just movies, these aren't just hits, but they become enmeshed in the culture. The Princess Bride, Misery, Stand By Me, This is Spinal Tap. A lesser-known film of his, which I thought was wonderful, was The Sure Thing. So many movies, so many indelible performances, and he was able to kind of bounce between genres. You had a mockumentary when they really weren't making that many mockumentaries. You had a rom-com. You've had thrillers. You've had dramatic performances. He did A Few Good Men. He could do it all. And, that power didn't last through the decades. In recent years, his films have been, the quality just hasn't been there. But boy, when he was on target, there was no one quite like him.
And you also say Reiner was a master at comedy, right? But his film Misery, maybe a perfect Stephen King adaptation. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think for many years, Hollywood struggled to get that Stephen King tone just right. We saw films that came close, some that were clunkers, but Misery just seemed note perfect. Of course, you had two great performances there, James Caan and Kathy Bates, but just really capturing what he brought to the written word and translating it almost seamlessly to the screen. A great story, a great movie, a two-hander, as they say, with not a lot of action in theory, but just complete tension. And also something that was oddly relatable. What if a superstar was trapped by his biggest fan and she wasn't quite all right? So just a memorable movie and just an example of how good he could be directing films. And of course, segueing from a sitcom actor into a popular director, another weird and not always successful transition, he made it look easy.
And why do you think that is? If you can just condense it into one thing, if possible, I mean, what made Reiner unique in cinema specifically?
I mean, I think he had great instincts. Obviously, growing up, his dad was Carl Reiner, one of the funniest people around. That certainly helped, fine-tune his sense of humor, working within the Hollywood realm on a sitcom that was beloved for so long. It's just talent, absolute talent. And, his movies, sometimes a director may make great movies and the public doesn't quite latch on to them. They're cerebral, they're esoteric, they're beautifully crafted, But I think his movies really checked all the boxes. The critics loved them. The people loved them. They became just symbolic of what the best of the best could be. I mean, when you think rom-coms, it's When Harry Met Sally. That is the prototype. When you think about Stephen King adaptations, Misery, I think, is the best. When you think about nostalgia movies, Stand By Me really captured what it meant to be a young person growing up confused. And the fact that it's not set in modern times didn't matter, because when you're young and you're a boy and you're just kind of growing up and learning what life is all about, all those different emotions are there, and he captured them. And that's why it was so special. And again, that was another Stephen King adaptation, but just a very different kind of Stephen King story.
Do you think what you said just now, that will be what's going to be remembered of him, his legacy? If you could just elaborate on how people will remember his contributions.
Yeah, I mean, the films speak for themselves, his ability to tell different stories in different genres. In recent years, he just hasn't had that fastball. He hasn't really been able to kind of keep that streak alive. And that's not uncommon. Sometimes artists kind of lose their mojo. They can't really compete with themselves in the past. But I think when you think about Rob Reiner, that run in the 80s will just speak for itself. I struggle to think of another director who had that many hits, that scored with the public, that had movies that endure. There are many movies that you watch it now and you think, oh, that hasn't aged well, or I connected with it as a younger person, but it doesn't really speak to me now. But his films really just stand the test of time. I mean, the Tom Hanks, the Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan connection in When Harry Met Sally alone was just beautiful. And that film had those great New Year's Eve moments that we'll probably be watching again in a few weeks.
Okay, let me just ask you one more question. Out of all of his body of work, what is the best film to you, and tell us why?
This is Spinal Tap is so special. It's so funny. It was a format that we weren't seeing a lot of at the time. It introduced these newer comic actors, Harry Shearer, Michael McKean. It really kind of captured rock in a way. It poked fun at it. It really spoke to where music was at that particular moment. My only sadness about that movie is I wanted to introduce it to my kids, but rock and pop and the whole music scene is very different today. I don't think they would get all the jokes per se. It's a movie that is beautiful and has aged well on the surface, but I don't think it connects with today's marketplace as much. But boy, you could go on and on quoting that movie, the great scenes, the jokes. It's just as good as it gets.
Yeah, he was a national treasure, and he will be sorely missed. Well, Christian, thank you for speaking with us today. Thank you.
My pleasure.
A potential terror attack in Germany averted. Authorities arrested 5